Capricorn. Welcome to Pandora Astrology's monthly horoscope for December of 2021. We are the astrologers of Pandora Astrology. I'm Jamie Kale Miller. I'm in Berkeley, California.
And I'm Julia Mijas in San Francisco.
Well, Capricorn, if this is your sun sign, not your rising sign, then your birthday is coming up fast. You've already entered into your yearly mop-up period, which is the 30 days before your birthday. And it's the time when the most changes happen as the themes of your previous year cycle out and the themes of your new year start to cycle in. And if you want to get a jump on what those themes are so you can start your year right, then you can look in the YouTube description below for a link for a solar return birthday reading, because that will give you some powerful clues. So we have a very interesting square of Saturn to Uranus that has been going on all year and is finally coming to a close. Uranus is traveling along through your fifth house over a 7-year period. Saturn is traveling along through your second house over about a 2 to 3 year period. Saturn tends to bring limitations and constrictions wherever it goes. And the second house is the house of money and wealth building, among other things. Also diet and your health routines and how you steward your body in a good way. So Saturn has been bringing some limitations and constrictions to this area, which might make you feel like you should be tightening your belt financially. And if your response to this is to make better budgets and discipline yourself more about money, then let me tell you, that's been the right response. Meanwhile, Uranus, passing along through your fifth house, has been sort of throwing lightning bolts into your creative zone. So you may find that you want to be more expressive and you want to, get groups and friends together to bat ideas around, do some brainstorming, and that your creativity has really been lit up over about the past 3 years or so. So this year, Uranus and Saturn have been duking it out in a square. And if you have anything in your chart between 7 and 13 degrees of any fixed sign at all, meaning Leo, Aquarius, Scorpio, or Taurus, then you've absolutely been feeling the ping pong pressure between Saturn telling you to hunker down, nose to the grindstone, take yourself more seriously, work harder, and Uranus, which is saying, no, break out, break down, break through, make changes and make progress. So you can find out a lot more about this on our YouTube playlist for the December 2021 news, or on our monthly forecast page, where is the video about Saturn square Uranus. Well, Julia, I think you've got some news about Mercury, Mars, and Venus. What's that good stuff?
Ooh, well, hey, Capricorn. So I'll begin with Mercury. That's the planet that represents communication and mentation. And wherever we have Mercury that month is where we're going to expend the most mental energy. So Mercury starts the month in your 12th house of isolation, which means that you'll be more inclined to keep your ideas and sort of your communications more to yourself instead of connecting with others. But by December 13th, Mercury is going to shift into your first house, and you're going to be a lot more willing to kind of let other people know what's on your mind. The first house is the house of self. So when Mercury comes into this house, we can become a lot more articulate. It's a really good time, especially if you need to make a good first impression on somebody else with your mind, like if you need to impress somebody at a job interview, or maybe your girlfriend's parents for the first time or something. Then Mars, the planet of action and activity, starts the month in your 11th house. The 11th house is the house of all the groups in your life, whether they are clubs, societies, unions, organizations of all kinds. The 11th house also represents friends as well as your long-term goals. And so when Mars starts the month in this house, you could be very driven to achieving your long-term goals, which you generally are, Capricorn, but maybe just kind of putting rubber to pavement and seeing what you can get done. Mars is a conflict-prone planet, so this can be a time of flare-ups with your friends and in the groups that you're a part of too. Then by December 13th, 13th, Mars goes into your 12th house. This is the house of isolation. It's also the house of the subconscious. When Mars is in the 12th, sometimes people can get kind of itchy and irritated out of nowhere because the 12th is such a diffuse house and Mars is the planet of anger. It's kind of like you might get a little upset about something, but you can't quite trace what it was yet. The 12th house is also the house of self-undoing. So there is a possibility of using anger in a way which ends up not really helping you out at all. So learning to kind of check your emotions can be a really good use of this transit. And, the 12th house is also a very spiritual and charitable house. So a really constructive use of this transit is applying yourself spiritually to something, maybe really going at some yoga practice or some meditation or being involved in a church's community outreach would be a wonderful use of this time. And then the last planet I want to talk about is Venus. She's the planet of art, beauty, and relationships. She begins the month in your first house, which is really awesome. She's going to be here all month, and she is going to go retrograde on the 19th. Now, a retrograde cycle for Venus lasts about 6 weeks, so that's going to take us well into late January too. But just having Venus in the first house alone can be a wonderful time for also making a great first impression, but with your looks, because that's what Venus represents. Now, on the 19th, when she goes retrograde, when planets go retrograde, it's a time of reviewing the themes of that planet. And since Venus is relationships, and this is all happening in your first house, you might be reviewing how your relationships, how you find independence and how you find your own selfhood within your partnership. Because the first house is really about you, whereas the 7th house is about the other person, your better half, so to speak. But, issues around who you are as an individual versus who you are in a partnership might come up. And I'd say after the 19th, you might want to avoid doing anything to change your appearance. Usually it's good when Venus is in the first house, but when it's retrograde, it means you might want to redo that change. So if you get a haircut, you might want to go back and have to get it fixed again, or hair dyeing, or even tattoos. So maybe just kind of cool it on the change of the personal appearance after the 19th. And whenever the Venus goes retrograde, it's usually a time that everybody experiences some sort of surprise phone calls or even visits from our exes. So that can definitely also happen.
Such good advice there, Julia, for
Thank you.
Venus retrograde, because not the time to get a tattoo for sure. Something that's so hard to, change later.
Oh, yes.
Okay, so a couple of moons happening this month. The first one is an eclipse. It's a solar eclipse happening right here in your 12th house of the hidden, of the spiritual, of the very internal and unconscious. An eclipse is a time when we're forced to look at our shadow, that stuff that we'd rather not look at, that we may put behind us. And often it comes up behaviorally. So I think you can expect this eclipse to perhaps drive some deeply unconscious behavior. And so, keeping an eye on yourself would be a pretty important thing to do. So this eclipse is happening December 3rd. It's happening in the sign of Sagittarius, which is a sign that has to do with beliefs and faith, also growth and expansion, travel and multiculturalism and tolerance. And so we're calling this one Heal Breaches by How You Act on Your Beliefs. And so under this eclipse, if you're trying to persuade somebody of your point of view and bring them over into your camp, how you behave will matter a lot more than what you say about it. The second moon, however, is different from that, in a way opposite to that. And that one is coming up on the 19th as the moon sits in Gemini, opposing the sun in Sagittarius. And this is just a plain old full moon. This isn't an eclipse, so it's probably not going to be as dramatic. It's also a lot smoother. There's a lot more harmony with this particular moon. And I think it's a lot more persuasive. We're calling this one Broadened Minds Gain Bigger Hearts. This is the kind of moon where you'll find that you can more easily persuade people of your point of view, or more easily engage in friendly conversations with people who hold a different point of view. And your mind might broaden in that conversation, or theirs might, and there might be increased tolerance for everybody. And that's wonderful. So then the last thing I want to tell you about is the seasonal change. The sun has been traveling through Sagittarius, and really in the early part of the month, the 12th house is very, very full. So you might find towards the beginning of this month that you're really feeling quite introverted and that you're not really feeling like you want to come out and see people. You've pulled into a state of solitude, and that's fine, but all good things come to an end. And as these planets begin to migrate into the first house, you'll find yourself wanting to be a little bit more visible. The sun in particular, moving into the first house, shines the spotlight on you and how what you're modeling, what you're role modeling in the world. Of course, you being a Capricorn, that means that your birthday month is coming on, and that you can expect, more attention, and you can expect to well, really, the best approach is to put positive attention on how you can grow your reputation, how you can look better, more mature, more contained, more authoritative and expert at what you do. So the latter part of the month is very much about that as the sun moves into Capricorn. Well, that's what we have for you today, Cap. Hope you enjoyed it. You can always find good stuff like this on our YouTube channel, Pandora Astrology, including the news of the month gathered into playlists for you. And you can find it on our horoscope too, on the forecast page. No, our website, where you can find your horoscope on the horoscope page, and also the news on our forecast tab. And if you want a reading to further explain anything that we've said here, or if you want a class to understand astrology more deeply, you can find that good stuff on our website too. And until next time, we'll see you around the cosmos. Bye.
Bye-bye.